Welcome to Nighttime Decor's Design Pro Lighting Effects and Imaging Software Tutorials. These tutorials will take you through opening an image, sizing it down, cleaning it up if it's needed, placing in lighting fixtures, saving in different image formats, doing lighting effects, and printing your before and after images, just to name a few procedures. I recommend that you watch these tutorials entirely in order the first time through. Now before we move on, I want to make something clear up front that the Nighttime Decor Design Pro is actually two separate programs. There is the imaging program that you see here that allows you to put in the fixtures, and then there is the lighting effects program which you do your lighting effects with. When you first open the imaging program, you'll notice that many of the icons in the main toolbar are grayed out. That's because there's nothing to save, nothing to print, and nothing to draw on because there's nothing on the screen. You need to open up an image for those to become active. So to open an image, we'll go here to Open. Then you want to navigate to the folder of where you saved your images. I recommend you save everything to your hard drive. Don't leave it on your camera and try and navigate to your camera. It's just slower that way, but it can be done. It's just a little bit harder for novices. So what we want to do is navigate to the folder where your images are. If you go to the folder that you think your pictures are at, but you don't see anything and you're sure they're there, make sure your files of type is set to the type of pictures that they are. Usually from a digital camera, they're JPEG pictures. As you can see, when I changed that format, it showed the pictures here. If you don't see pictures, you can always go over here to view and adjust this. So if you have details, you're not going to see the picture, click on large icons and it gives you a thumbnail of the images that are in that folder. When you find the picture you want, you can click on it and then click open and it will come to the screen. Now the first thing you'll probably notice is that you can't see the whole picture at one time. You have to scroll around to see the picture. That's because out of a digital camera, pictures are usually 3,000 to 4,000 pixels wide. Now I'm recording this movie in 1,000 pixels, so I have to have things a little bit smaller than you would. But if you keep your picture at 4,000 pixels, it's just going to run slower on your computer unless you have a lot of RAM and a super fast computer, which most people don't have. So the moral of the story is you need to size your picture down first. To do it is real simple and quick. What you do is you go up here to File, you click on Background Image and go to Resize. You'll want to size it down to something around 1200 pixels. So all you do is click here in Width, type in 1200, and then click OK and it will size it down. Now you don't have to change the height, it will be automatic because you have Maintain Aspect Ratio checked. And if it's not checked, put a check mark in there because you always want things to be maintained as the aspect ratio or they'll be distorted. So we'll click OK and you see now the picture is sized down. I can pretty much see the whole image at one time. Now your next step would be to adjust the image if it needs it and clean it up. This image is pretty good. It needs maybe a little bit of adjustment and it's pretty clean, but we're going to adjust it and clean it up anyway because you need to learn how to do that. So first of all, a lot of times you'll take a picture and things are not that bright because of the time of day you took the picture or however your camera was set up. So you may want to brighten the image up before you do your lighting effects. To do that, you go up here to Tools and you click on Color Levels. You see the first slider here says Contrast. Watch in this box right here, you can see a preview of what I'm doing. So if I take this to the right, the image gets brighter. If I take it to the left, the image gets darker. We want it brighter, so we're going to bring it up, say about 13 to 15 levels here, and then click OK to see what it looks like. And you'll see the image got just a little bit brighter. You can keep messing with that by undoing it by going up here to Edit Undo if you want to try it again, and we did it at 13 that time. Let's bring it up to 18 and click OK. So now the image you saw just got a little bit brighter. That's how you adjust the brightness. Now, like I said before, this image is pretty clean. There's no toys and stuff on the driveway. There's no junk in the yard, no trucks sitting up on blocks or anything like that that you want to remove out of here. But what we're going to do is we're going to remove these tree supports here. I'm going to zoom in by pressing F10 on the keyboard. So I put my mouse over where I want to zoom in. I press F10 on the keyboard and I'm zooming into this area. I want to remove these supports from the picture. So to remove something in a image, you need to cover it up with something else that's in the image. So if you think about it like this, imagine this was a photograph that was printed in your hand and you wanted to take these supports out. You would take a pair of scissors and you would just cut them out. But what that would do is leave a hole there. So you really need to cover it up with something else that's already in the image. And to do that, you use the clone tool. To access the clone tool, we'll go up here to clone. Now the clone tool has different brush sizes. If you go slide up to the top, you got small brushes. Slide to the bottom, you got large brushes, and they alternate between square and round. So I'm going to get a round brush, so I'll click on it and see what size it is. That's about right. So what you do to use the clone tool is you right click to say this is where I'm going to draw from. So I want to draw with this plant to remove the stick going down here in the ground. So what I do is I right click over here and you can see that that circle stayed where I right clicked. So I'm now going to move the second circle over where I want to start drawing, and then I'm going to left click and then drag, and as you can see it's drawn with the piece of plant that's over here on the left and it's drawn it on the right. So I'm going to do it again, and now I've removed that portion of it. Now I want to remove the stick going up here to the left, so I want to draw with a portion of the house. So I'm going to switch over to a square brush and a little bit smaller one. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click here on the house, and then I'm going to bring my brush down here, and then I'm going to left click and drag, and as you can see I'm removing that. Now I want to reset it again so that my brushes are a little bit closer, so I'm going to repeat. I right click with my mouse to set my first brush here, and then I'm going to left click to show it where to start drawing, and then I click and drag to remove this portion of the stick over here. And now when I come over to this side, I want to do it from the side because I can't draw with the window to remove the stick here. So I'm going to right click right there, bring my other cursor over here, and then I'm going to left click, and I want to draw with this plant, so I'm going to right click here, left click over here, and we're going to get a smaller brush to get in there where it's tight. So I'll right click here and then left click here to draw that in. So I'm going to do the same thing over here by the window. So again, right click, left click, right click, left click, right click, left click, and now I want to bring it up here, and as you can see I've removed it from the sides. Now doing it on the tree is going to be a little bit trickier because there's a shadow on this tree and it's not a consistent texture. Like the stucco of the house was easy. Plants are fairly easy because they're all mumble jumbled up leaves, so you don't really see a line, where this is a line here on the tree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Define Area tool, plus it shows you how to do that. So I'm going to leave the clone tool by clicking OK. So what I'm going to do is use the Define Area tool. So I'll click on this, I'm going to use the rectangle, and I'm going to draw a rectangle right about here, grabbing enough of the tree to cover up that stick. Then click OK. And then what I'm going to do to make this an object is just simply click it and drag it to where I want it. It'll ask me if I want to convert it to an object. Simply say yes, and as you can see I've got that little piece there covering up the stick. Now I'm going to go back in and blend those edges here in a minute to smooth it out a little bit more, because you can still see it even when you zoom out. You can't see it as much, but we'll fix that here in a second. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a piece of the tree up here and bring it down. So again, I go to the Define Area tool and I use the rectangle and just grab this piece here, and I'm going to move it down turn it into an object, and now I want to make it a little bit bigger. I'll go to the corner handle here, click and drag that, and for some reason I got some black here at the bottom I don't want, so I need to cut that off. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So to cut that off, we'll go here to the eraser and just clip that. So let's zoom out, see what that looks like by pressing F9 on the keyboard, and you'll never notice there. So again, to blend these edges, we need to take this piece and pretty much merge it to the background, because we're going to blend this piece with the background image. So we select on it, we'll go up here to Object, and we go to Combine with Background. So now it's part of the background image. I can no longer move it. Then I'll go over here to Tools, and I'm going to go to the Smudge tool. And it's already set. You could change the smudge brushes. Again, like the clone tool, they alternate between square and round, and they get smaller towards the top. We're going to get a square one here. That's way too big. That'll probably work, and I'll just bring this along the edge here, and you can see it's just kind of blurring that, and it kind of blends into the background of the tree. Now up close you can notice that if you're looking for it, but when you're zoomed out, which the customer will be, they're not going to zoom in on the image because they're going to have a printed image, or it's going to be on your website or an email. So now we've basically removed those supports on this tree. Now we want to save our image. You want to save this picture for a couple reasons. Number one, we've sized it down, we've brightened it up, and we've removed the supports on the tree. So we've done some work on it. We want to save it so we don't lose it and have to come back and do it again. The other thing too is you want a before picture, because it's always nice if you're going to put it on your website to have a before picture and an after picture for the contrast. So to save it as the before, we'll go up here to File, we click on Save As, then navigate to a folder that you know where it's going to be. Don't be saving it on my desktop, because it's going to get lost with all the other stuff you have on your desktop if you're one of those people, and don't be saving it under My Pictures. I recommend you make a folder under Nighttime Decor. You can make one under Samples here. We're just going to click Create a New Folder. I usually make the folder the name of the customer, so let's say it's Jones's. So we've got that folder made. We double click the folder, and I'm going to call this Jones Before. You can spell out before if you want, but make sure this is a JPEG format. So we'll click on JPEG. You want to use JPEG because it's just a smaller file size, because you're going to be saving a lot of images. You don't want to eat up your hard drive, and it's something that everybody can open and use. We'll cover more about file formats here in a minute. So we'll click Save. And now that before picture is saved on my hard drive so that I could find it again. And by naming it the customer's name, if you should put it in a goofy place where you can't find it, you could just do a search for their name and you'll be able to find the picture that way.